What if I told you that selling everything you own could lead to the adventure of a lifetime? What if I told you that downsizing your life could be the key to unlocking a more fulfilling and intentional existence? Well, my husband and I did just that. From traveling the world with nothing but our backpacks to building and living in a tiny house, our downsize journey has been the most incredible ride. And today, I'm going to share it all with you. In 2017, we found ourselves stuck and overwhelmed by our possessions. Even our house didn't bring us as much joy as it once did. Our online business was thriving, but we just knew there had to be more to life. We realized that we had the freedom to work from anywhere with, of course, a reliable internet connection, and we're not talking dial-up. Before I explain how our travels changed our view on possessions, I just first want to go through why and how we sold everything. Our motto was simple. If we could buy it at a later time, we decided to sell it or give it away. And we didn't want to place stuff in a storage unit that no longer brought us value. The only things that we saved were of pure sentimental value. Most of the stuff we did save is mostly mine, because I'm the kind of person that literally saves every single birthday card I've ever gotten. And also every post-it note Greg has written me too.
My note for Hannah.
I can't get it off. My legs are too short.
At the time, there was an app called OfferUp. Consider it the equivalent to Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. The key to selling our stuff was Greg wrote really great ad copy, and he was just really interactive on it. We sold our stuff fairly quickly. Our other strategies, once we made the decision to sell everything, to travel, even to selling our house as well, as we were going through our things, we just kind of reserved this one spot in our house along this wall, and we just put everything there that we either wanted to sell or give away. And so as people came to our house to visit, they would kind of ask us about like, what's this pile sitting next to your wall? Best part about that is we never had a yard sale, and we got rid or sold everything that we wanted to. After we sold nearly everything, including our house, we were ready to hit the road with a clean slate.
Our first house, moved in when we first got married. It was a great home for the first 5 years of our marriage, and now it's just time to move on.
So if you're thinking about downsizing, don't be afraid to let go. It might just be the start of something amazing. Traveling taught us a valuable lesson. Our true happiness really didn't come from those things. The things that we sold, we really didn't miss it. In fact, everything that we needed for our travels fit inside 2 backpacks. If you're curious about what we took with us, you can check out the videos I did here. After we traveled full time for about 2.5 years, we started to think about what our next step was going to be. We wanted to continue to live simply, but we also wanted to have a place to call our own again. We also wanted to start a family.
We're going to have a baby.
Please put your phone away so you can drive safe.
Our initial thought was to buy an RV. And so we went to the process, went to the dealerships, and just started looking around. But Greg and I just collectively, it wasn't sitting right with us. Honestly, we felt like it was too mainstream. Nothing against RVing. I think that we will end up doing it eventually in the future. But at this time in our lives, we just wanted to create a very unique story for ourselves. And that's when the idea of a tiny house started to take shape. Now, at first, Greg was not sold on the idea about tiny houses. I was the one watching other tiny house tours. That's typically where it starts, right? You watch HTV, you watch YouTube, and you just see all these tiny house tours. And you're just like, oh, I would love one of those, right? When we were in our Airbnb in Hanoi, Vietnam, I heard a very familiar channel in the other room. And I was like, oh. And it wasn't till he literally popped out of the room and said,
Babe, let's build a tiny house.
My plan worked. Thanks to their channel, Greg saw that tiny living was so much more than what he thought. It's about creativity, freedom, and making the most use out of every inch of space. So if you're feeling hesitant about the tiny house lifestyle, go check out Living Big in a Tiny House for some serious inspiration. After we decided to build a tiny house, there was no turning back. It was the perfect solution for us. It gave us a space to call our own again with limited possessions It also gave us the ability to continue traveling. We also did a video on how to tow a tiny house. So if you haven't checked that out already, go ahead and check it out here or here. In fact, all our Airbnb stays around the world were inspiration to our tiny house build. Just by staying in so many different types of Airbnbs, we were able to create a really intentional living space. It just continued to instill that thought that we did not need much. Now, to say that building a tiny house was easy, that is definitely an understatement. But when you make a decision about something, you accept those challenges that come along with it. Now, with the small space, it's been great. There are some challenges, especially as our daughter gets older. Taylor. It's time to go outside. From selling everything we owned, to selling our house, to traveling the world, building and designing a tiny house, we are just incredibly grateful for this entire downsizing journey. We find that we have more time and energy to focus on the things that matter most to us. We feel more connected to the world around us and have a wider perspective of how things are in the world. It also gives us the financial ability to continue traveling the world at our own leisure. Maybe you're ready to downsize and you don't want to go quite as small as a tiny house, and that's perfectly fine. The point is that downsizing and living with intention looks different for everyone. If you're considering downsizing your life, here are some next steps to get you started. Start with small changes. Begin by getting rid of anything that no longer serves a purpose in your life. Define what's important to you. Take the time to figure out what truly brings you joy and fulfillment. Make a plan. Determine what steps you need to take to downsize your life and create a timeline to make it happen. The timeline is incredibly important. We made a decision that we said, you know what? We're going to need a year. And that was a part of the plan. So I cannot stress enough the importance of timeline. Take action. Downsizing your life is a process, and it won't happen overnight. But with determination and a willingness to let go of the things that no longer serve you, you can create a life that's simpler, more intentional, and more fulfilling. Thank you so much for joining us on our downsize journey. I hope that hearing our story has inspired you to consider downsizing and simplifying your own life. Remember, it's not about selling everything or selling your house, but rather finding the things that bring you the most joy and value out of life and focusing on that. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave us a comment below. We would love to hear your story of how you want to downsize or your story of how you did downsize. Hey, you might have even sold your house too. We would love to hear that from you. And as always, like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, stay intentional.